Cristiano Ronaldo completely ruined Man United last season. This is Matchweek. You are joined by myself, Ardi Emini. We discuss everything soccer, from the highs and the lows in the sporting week to the news that is relevant to you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome back. You are listening top of the hour on WMSC Upper Montclair. And this is Matchweek. Guys, today it is me and one other special guest. That's right, only a duo today. But this guy, he was here for when Matchweek wasn't on the air. He was on our last episode before we came onto the radio. It is the one, the only Arsenal fan that I know. It is Kenny Campen. Come on. What's up, Kenny? How we doing today?
What's up, Ardi? How's it going?
Good. I feel like sometimes when I say your name, like it's meant to be like said like an in-ring boxing announcer. You know, it's like over in the red corner, weighing in at 153 pounds is Kenny Campen. You know, like I feel like I have to say it like that for some reason.
Pretty accurate.
Now, Kenny, tell me, this past weekend, great time to be an Arsenal fan.
Huge, amazing, especially after our start last year to the Premier League. This is, I'm in heaven right now. I really am.
Yeah, because it goes to show that Arsenal is sort of that team right now that is able to still pull results. Like, it's no more a struggle for them, as we've seen in years past, but now it's sort of like oh, wow, like, we're here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with some new summer signings Arteta had, and, obviously transfer deadline, it's not over yet, so could be some last minute changes.
I mean, speaking of transfer deadline day, real quick, tonight, if you'd like to, remember, no call to actions. Typical tagline of Ken Matchweek, no call to actions. But if you'd like to come tonight at 10 p.m., we are having a transfer deadline day special, only available on WMSC 90.3. If you guys are available, if you like, yes, no, maybe so. No call to actions. Your choice completely. I'm not telling you to do anything. You can come later on tonight, 10 p.m. and listen. Continue, Kenny.
Yeah, but with Arteta, we have a lot of new summer signings and some players that he's coached before, like Zinchenko and Jesus. So it's players that he knows a lot about because he's worked with them, and they've come in and they've done a good job so far. So, I think everyone's kind of trusting the process with him right now and starting to believe in it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, here's the thing. Do you think that I wouldn't say hypothetically it's all like Arteta this, Arteta that. Do you think that it's finally like not only just Arteta, like everything else is going right above him as well?
Yeah, I think with like Edu, he's obviously part of our summer signing, and even with like the club owners, like with John Kroenke, a lot of people wanted them out, but I think, especially I saw like the Arsenal documentary, and it gives really like behind the scenes stuff of what they're trying to do, and I think they're kind of all in with the club when you look at it from a certain perspective. Of course, the documentary is going to make it seem like that.
Yeah, let's say, because do you think these documentaries sort of like sports wash the idea of what they are, right? So do you think that it's sort of meant to sell that idea to the fans to calm them? Because what if, let's say hypothetically, Manchester United did a all or nothing, and we hear and see the Glazers for finally, and God knows how long. Like, do you think that's just how documentaries work? They're meant to just sell you an idea, or do you think you actually really saw something with these owners?
I think they definitely try to sell you an idea, the documentaries. Because obviously they're the money's always involved. With the owners and stuff like that. But I think it definitely kind of spoke to words this summer because of the signings that were made from the club and the money that they put up. So maybe last year you would have said something differently, or maybe having the documentary pushed like the owners to be more involved and put more towards the club. So that could be something that changed too. But the way that this documentary kind of portrayed it, it definitely gave a lot of belief to the fans. I know every club's different, but I think the way that they had it set up, it kind of showed that above Arteta, everyone's kind of working together, to get Arsenal back to where it should be, because it's been a long time.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's a tough situation to be in because everybody loves seeing Arsenal to fail, but now that they are sort of ahead of the curve and they've taken this like slight rebuild, but they've taken their time, right? It's not like it's just been pump it all one summer, see what happens, constant spending of signings. It's like you've picked a manager, you're finally putting pieces to the puzzle that you want, and then now it's actually like, flowing together.
Yeah, it definitely took time. Arteta's been in now for, I think, coming up this November. I think it's going to be like 2 full years, and he got the contract extension last year. His first year he took over when Emery. We finished 8th.
But that was also the COVID season he took over, right?
Yes, yeah, that was.
So that's sort of like it's like a weird spot because he's sort of been there for more than 2 years, but like he hasn't been there for more than 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So it kind of been he has and he hasn't, but we finished 8th. And last year, obviously, we won a top 4, but finished 5th. That's still an improvement from 8th. So it's not like we went backwards. We still went forward. But, I think that last year in my head, I was like, all right, if we don't get top 4, I think Arteta's going to be out. But even though getting 5th, we still kind of believed in it. Now this year, we should really even push for like top 3. Yeah. I think we have the potential for it. And, some teams have been changing in the Prem too. I mean, you look at Liverpool. They lost Sadio Mane, and he's a huge part of their goal scoring, aspect, and their attacking. They have some new faces that came in, but the new faces kind of have to live up to, the expectations that Sadio Mane had, I think, for Liverpool to be successful.
Yeah, but I think the difference between having a new face Liverpool and trying to replace Sadio Mane are like different, right? Because usually a new face at Liverpool can like bed in well. So whether it was a Jota or even it was like even everyone that came after Firmino and Mane, right? Like Firmino and Mane were the first signings, then Salah came in and bed in, right? So it's sort of an investment in this plan. And what we see with Liverpool right now is that, yes, they thrashed Bournemouth 9-0. We're going to get onto that a little bit later. But we will also see that it's like we see Darwin Nunez is a talent, right? He's not like some schmuck.
When you pay $100 million for someone, you don't pay $100 million for someone because they have talent they're paying for.
Here's the thing,
see something.
Let's be honest right now. If he didn't get that red card, Liverpool's rest of their games after that Crystal Palace game would have been different. Yeah, I think against Bournemouth, it would have been up like 13-14-0.
It could have been more. The Man U game probably would have been.
I'm about to say the United game, it could have ended as a draw, or maybe Liverpool could have won. Like that's the big difference here. And then plus with them suffering injuries in midfield and how they still need a midfield signing.
Thiago, he's been injured.
Because like Liverpool, we noticed early in the transfer window they wanted Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham was a number 1. But he wasn't an option. They wanted Tchouaméni. Tchouaméni went to Real Madrid. And we know Liverpool to be the club that only makes the signing when it's the right signing to make. Which is kudos to them, right? Like, every time they splash the money on the right signing, it's been a Virgil van Dijk, it's been an Alisson, it's been a Mo Salah, Sadio Mane.
Good players. They brought in the players that came in and performed.
Exactly. Like, they pick players that know how to win games. It's plain and simple. And I'm trying to think, because with Arsenal right now, I see the same thing with them as well. Like going in for a Gabby Jesus when, Chelsea sort of wanted him, but really no one else wanted to go in for him. Like kudos to Arsenal, because that was sort of that missing piece that they needed, right? I mean, granted, Granit Xhaka, we love him, right? He's an Albanian. I love my Albanians. I want them to succeed. But bringing in Zinchenko to start over him, personally, in my opinion, which is my question for you. Do you think Zinchenko should be starting at left back or should he be in the midfield?
So, actually, they have, we played today against Villa, and Zinchenko, I think, I want him, and I think he should and will start in the midfield today because we have some injuries in the midfield. We have Partey is out, Elneny is out, so I think, Zinchenko, he actually missed last game from an injury, but I think we kind of need him to be back today, and it should be a duo of Xhaka and Zinchenko running the midfield. And, I think right now, from the first couple games, I've kind of liked Zinchenko at left back better than Tierney. But really? Okay. I want to see how it goes today, because maybe the better option is having Zinchenko in the midfield and Tierney at left back.
Yeah, because
could be a better option.
I was about to say, because me coming as neutral, right? I'm not an Arsenal fan. If it was up to me, Arsenal fail, please. Makes my life easier.
Of course.
Easier to do the show, right? But in actuality, as a neutral, not as a United fan, as neutral, when I see Arsenal play, I love Kieran Tierney at left back.
Me too.
I like seeing him play there, and I think having a Zinchenko in that midfield instead of a Xhaka sort of, I want to say it makes him more mobile, but it gives him more security.
It does.
Because, like, Granit Xhaka, he's literally an Albanian center mid. He'll walk, play beautiful balls, and put in dirty challenges for no reason.
Yeah, the most red cards. Since
I was say because Kenny, you play around us all the time. You know,
I know.
He's literally like for like. You think we joke? No, we're being serious. Yeah. But no, like that's the thing. Like he is a good talent. When you guys brought him for Mönchengladbach, we all knew he was a good player.
Yeah,
and it's just tough because to play in the Prem, you sort of have to be as bullish as him, but you also have to be way faster on the ball. You have to have a lot of pace on you, and yet somehow have like 20 pounds of muscle on you as well. So it's really, really hard for a center mid to really thrive in the Prem if you're known to be that like ball winning, strong center mid, right?
Yeah, and I think you kind of see it with some games he's played because most of his career at Arsenal, from at least my perspective, and I think others, it's been, at least when it came to, it's kind of been more inconsistent where he'd have some good games and bad games. And a lot of people I know want him, a lot of Arsenal fans kind of want him out of the club and gone. I'm kind of indifferent on that. You know, I think that over the past, past 2 seasons, he's still been inconsistent, but he's been more inconsistently good than inconsistently bad. So I think that he has improved, but he's still not at the level where he should be at. And I know just from Arteta loves him, so he's gonna, if he's healthy, he's starting every game as a, in the 6 or 8 position for us. So he's going to be playing every single game, as long as he's healthy with Arteta. I doubt Arteta would, put Zinchenko over him. I mean, he might, you never know. But I know just from how Arteta is, he's always going to play Xhaka. And I think that he has been getting better too. And I want him to go on the pitch and succeed. So, and I think I think last year was probably his best season for us. And he's had a good start for this season. He's already matched his goal and assist total in the first 3 games as last season, which is obviously, could be a difference between how we're playing and whatnot. But I think, like you said, Tierney at left back, obviously, I don't hate him, but I just like the way Zinchenko played. But, I think a good option, hopefully we find out today, Tierney at left back, Zinchenko in the midfield. Let's see how they perform, because that's kind of like what we got Zinchenko, knowing he is a versatile player.
But here's the question, though. Because Zinchenko did play last week as an injury, and because it's, I don't want to say it's only Aston Villa, because Villa need the win, but they've been struggling.
They do. They need to win.
But do you think you can get away with a Xhaka Lokanga midfield with Odegaard in front?
You know what? Because that's our other option.
Because the other issue is that you have Tomiyasu out at right back, so now you've been having Ben White fill in there, which is a little weird because, I think you guys have Ben White there because in game, that's why I think he sort of has Zinchenko at left back. The whole team sort of meshes differently.
It is.
Zinchenko will go and play up more. You have a Bukayo Saka, obviously. He's been a right wing back, right mid, right everything for Arsenal over the past few years. So he runs up and down the pitch. And then you sort of play a back 3 with White, Saliba, and Gabriel, which, by the way, I would not complain about. Ben White's class. Saliba, what a storyline with him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Coming to Arsenal, not being wanted, being loaned out numerous times to now being a world beater center back that came back from Marseille.
Yeah. I think, and that's the good thing about having loan is kind of having trust with players, because we've done that before with Emil Smith-Rowe. We loaned him out to a championship side a couple of years ago. He came back and he played well. And like you said with Saliba, we loaned him out twice. And last year at Marseille, at 20 years old, now he's 21. He got in League One. He won the Young Player of the Year award, and he proved himself at Marseille. We brought him back. He wanted to come back, and now I think he's in the depth chart. I would put him over Gabriel and White right now as our top center back. And I think that loan was good for him, because that was his time to prove himself. He was still a young player. Like I said, now he's only 21 years old. So now he's come back, and now he's ready. He's already had a good start to the season. He had a goal the other day. Our defense has only conceded 3 goals in 4 games. And, and like you mentioned earlier about Ben White, he's, traditionally a center back, but he's been class at right back so far this season. So I have no complaints of him starting there at right back. And obviously we have Tomiyasu as a right back as well. So who would you much rather prioritize more playing at the right back slot? Because I think Tomiyasu has done such a service there for you, filling it in with you guys not really having
a solid solid right back option since Hector Bellerin's first season at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Like he finally you have some solidity there. Then now, do you risk that solidity in Tomiyasu, or do you sort of switch to a 5 at the back system in a way, or like more of a 3 at the back system? Like that's choices that have to be made, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think a good problem to have on any team is to have, there's these two players are so good, we don't know who to start. That's, for the players, it could be stressful because obviously every player wants to play. But as a team, it's not a bad thing to have because that gives your team depth. And yeah, you want players, to play and perform better. But to have that option isn't bad. I think right now I would, you don't want to fix something that's not broken. So if Ben White's going to keep playing well, we'll keep him playing. And, we have Tomiyasu. And Tomiyasu could slide in on the left or right, too, if we need him. And, of course, injuries are going to come up. I mean, if Saliba or Gabriel get injured, Ben White will slide into a center back position and Tomiyasu will start for us. So I think having that depth, is a good problem to have. It's good to have these problems where, all right, these players are so good, we don't know who's going to start. We don't know who's going to play. And yeah, like I said, it could be unlucky to some players because you have good players not playing. But, especially at a big club, that's what you want to have, because when injuries come down the line and you don't have proper depth to fill in and stay at the same level of play, that's when, you drop points at the end of the season. That's what kind of happened last year, too.
Oh, yeah, of course. Because with the Prem, it's not about just winning all the big games against the top 6, right? Because that's sort of how you get your way through in those in the upper echelon of positions, right? Because we obviously know City fills in that first place spot most of the time, sadly. Liverpool's always up there with Chelsea. Even Tottenham as of late. Like, getting those wins against those bigger teams sort of helps close the gaps in some scenarios and gives you that springboard to fill in those positions.
Yeah.
But then also, if you don't get the points from the smaller teams, it doesn't matter if you get the wins against the Tottenham
or against
United,
right.
because then you're not going to get any points to really slingshot yourself.
Yeah, and I think that you mentioned, if you look at like Liverpool and Man City, Man City's won the 4 out of the past 5 Premier Leagues. They have a dynasty going right now, right? Liverpool has won 1 out of the past 5, but 2 of the times they came in second, it came down to the last, match day of the season. So if you look at Liverpool and Man City, kind of what you said, they've been so consistent with consistently grabbing points from the bottom half table. Every time they play a team that they should beat, they beat. They don't tie, they get the points. There may be a few games in the season where they drop points from lower table teams. And that's what makes them good, because then they can afford, then they'll play Chelsea or they'll play Man U. Like, look at like Liverpool, like they'll lose to Man U or they might try Chelsea or something like that. But they could drop points against top 6 because they're so consistently good at beating the lower table teams. And if you look at teams like Arsenal and Man U in the past, 6-7 years, what have they struggled in? Bottom half table teams. They're not consistently getting points. Like, I remember last year at one point, Arsenal lost 3 games in a row to teams that were bottom half of the table.
Yeah.
And that just kills you. Because we missed out of top 4 by like 1 or 2 points. But when you look back and you look at games like that, it's the games that you should be getting 3 points at and you shouldn't be tying or losing. That's what kills you. Because then, we'll put games, we beat Chelsea and Man U at the end of the season. Yeah, that's great. We beat 2 teams that are like top 6 teams. But then, we lose 3 games in a row of bottom half table. It does you no good. So I think the key to really winning the Prem is being consistent against those bottom half table teams. Because then when it comes to those games against the top, especially the top 6 teams, you can afford to drop some points or have a tie here and there. Because, your next 3 games you're playing, like the team you're playing, like Southampton or Palace. I mean, these are all good teams, but they're traditionally bottom half. They're like guaranteed points for you. And that's what has made them so good, because they're consistent against those teams.
Precisely. And it's a toss-up for Arsenal this year. Now, I don't predict this being an invincible season, personally. I don't see this.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because the high is sadly going to go down, Kenny. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You can't win every single game in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to get disappointed. But my curiosity is how Arsenal will bounce back from their first loss in the season. Because depending on how they bounce back will depend on the type of season they have.
Yes.
I think also this year's gonna be different for you guys because now you have like a European spot, right? Like it's not like you have no Europe like last year. Like this year you have Europa League. Granted, it's not Champions League, but still you're playing Thursday nights. It was Wednesday, Thursday nights.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Thursday, Friday nights.
Yeah.
And those nights, it's basically you have those games and then boom, right back to the Premier League on the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's like it can be 2 games within a 3-day period. So that's going to be the biggest test for Arsenal this year, seeing if they can handle games like that in those time slots.
Yeah, I think you're right too. And I think for really, both competitions, with the Europa League and with the Premier League, with Europa League, I think we should be at that level where we shouldn't be getting knocked out, in the round of 16, or the quarterfinals. Like we should be, Europa League, anything below semifinals, because there are going to be a few other good teams before semifinals or finals would be would not be acceptable for our standard at the club. It's okay. We should be at least be able to get to a semifinal. If there's other teams in it too. Like Man United's in it. We could face Man United in the semifinals. We lose. All right. It's a good team. We lost to Roma. And you look at that one Champions League group with Barcelona, Bayern, and Inter. In my opinion, either Barcelona or Inter, most likely Inter, are going to be dropped into the Europa League from their group.
But let's not also forget that Frankfurt group, right? It's like 4 teams where people are calling it a Europa League spot. Like they're calling it a Europa League group, but yet those are 4 teams that you should be scared of.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, Frankfurt's lost the likes of Kostic, went to Juve.
Some good players, yeah.
Yeah, but still, should be worried. There's nothing easy coming from that.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's going to be some good teams dropping from the Champions League, and it's going to make it more competitive, but I still think, Arsenal, if you want to be in Champions League, you got to at least show in the Europa League that you can get far in it. So, and like you said, too, with how Arsenal's going to bounce back, I think that's huge because, last year, like I said, we lose 3 games in a row. You can't do that if you want to get top 4.
No.
You can lose 1 game and it's going to happen. Every team, Man City, Liverpool, the teams that have won the league and are consistently good, they're going to drop games, but what do they do after a loss? They come back and they'll win 4 or 5 in a row. And I think it's going to show how Arsenal is, because, we're flying high right now. We're going to lose eventually. It's inevitable. When we lose, are we going to, lose, tie, lose, then win after 4 games? Or are we going to lose and then we're going to go right back on a winning streak? And that's going to entail how our season unfolds, because the past 7-8 seasons, it's loss, then we get in a slump, it's loss, then you get a tie, then a loss. You don't win for another 3 or 4 games, and that kills you. I think Man United's kind of had that same. Man United's kind of been similar to Arsenal the past 7-8 years.
Yeah, I was about to say we lost the first 2 games horrendously, but that bounce back is something.
Reminded me of Arsenal's last season, but they turned it around quickly.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Arsenal
saying.
Did last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
With no doubts in anyone's mind.
Yeah. But the thing is for me is to see, because of course we play against Arsenal next week.
Yes.
So my curiosity is how we handle a team right now that is, I would say, more well-mannered than Liverpool at this current moment, just because Liverpool has a whole bunch of injuries and suspensions and stuff. A legitimately full-strength team, I want to see how United handles a top 6 side.
Yeah, and I think Man United's made some recent transfers that have helped them out. You have the signing of Casemiro.
Yeah.
So I think, obviously every player that comes to the Prem, you don't know if they're going to be good right away or they might need some time. But Casemiro, he's a world-class player. I don't think he's going to have too much trouble fitting in. I don't know your opinion, but I think he's more quickly, sooner rather than later, he's going to fit in and play well. And you have Anthony that they just signed for, was it
100 million?
100 million. Like I said, you're not signing a player for 100 mil.
But the thing is that, I'm going to discuss this later as well, is that Anthony is a 50 million player, but because United took so long to buy him,
so the price jumped.
And because United took their star center back, took their manager, took their assistant manager, I actually be look, if you're going to make us have a downturn of a season by taking our starlet, you're going to have to pay more now. It's plain and simple. They're not even paying for a transfer value. They're paying to pillage of club, basically. That's what's going on.
It's like Ajax in the Premier League now.
Yeah.
That's almost what it is.
Yeah, and then it was so funny over the weekend. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, did everyone see Frankie De Jong and Memphis Depay in London? Oh, they might be transferring." Meanwhile, everyone's there for Donny Van de Beek's wedding and stuff. You know, it's it was funny.
And I want to know your opinion on Lissandro Martinez hopping in the center back position. Now, he's not a tall player, right?
No, he's 5'9".
5'9".
But then again, players like Cannavaro.
Carlos Puyol, he's 5'9".
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, height isn't a big thing, just as long as you have the right center back with you. And we saw how he performed with Maguire.
Yeah.
That if you don't have the right center back with you, it's not going to work. But when you have someone
100%.
as class as Rafael Varane,
Yeah.
or even, in my opinion, even if you throw like a Victor Lindelof there,
Yeah.
like I think it still works.
He's not bad.
Just no Harry Maguire, please. I beg you.
Yeah.
Like, please,
I
please.
think everyone's saying that.
Okay, look, I don't want to turn like every week this somehow turns to the anti-Harry Maguire show. Rightfully so, but like I'm gonna leave it here. I hope he doesn't make it back in the team. Done and over with. Harry Maguire, I don't want him in my club anymore. Anyways, but no, I don't think height's the issue. We even see it with players like Zinchenko or players like Bukayo Saka, right? Like they're not the tallest, but yet they're still able to perform.
Yeah. And I think what you said, have to have a good center back, partnership. And I think, from my opinion, when you watch Liverpool play, Van Dijk, I feel like he's at his best when he has Matip next to him.
Yes.
That's my opinion, because you've seen other players slide in that center back role, and sometimes Liverpool, their back line doesn't look the same, because it's the partnership, you said.
Do you think it's the same thing when Konate? I think it's the same thing when Konate's in there.
Konate has been good too, but I feel like he hasn't been playing a lot lately.
It's because of injury lately. That's why.
That's
injury.
why. Okay.
Yeah.
That
But
makes sense.
I will say Joel
But he has been
Matip
good.
last season for Liverpool was probably Liverpool's best defender. I
He was very
think
good.
that was his best season, in during a season where a lot of players had a downturn. Is the best way to explain it. So like, when everyone else is not doing as well around you and you still perform consistently, I think that just goes to show how much of a good player Joel Matip is. And I think for how long a lot of fans and like neutrals have sort of disrespected him.
He has been.
Yeah, because I think it's the same issue that Arsenal have with Gabriel, where it's a good player who's always consistently like playing, but yet there's not a good enough system around him. Where like now that Gabriel has like a Saliba next to him, it's like him and Ben White like a whole different center backs.
Yeah, it really is.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's just a French thing or if it's just like when you like who knows how to find good players. But when you like, I think Chelsea showed this too when you had a Thiago Silva, Rudiger, and even a Christensen back line.
Yeah,
that having someone as class as a Thiago Silva like really helps out the other two.
It is. And speaking of mentioning Chelsea, I think they just signed Wesley Fofana today, last minute, and that's a big thing, because I feel like their back line has been. Yeah. I'm German too. I love Germany, and I love Antonio Rudiger. In my opinion, he was kind of like the best center back at Chelsea last season. After when he came there, he barely played, but now Rudiger has been consistently playing, and he left because he had a great season.
Yeah.
Won Champions League. Had a good season with Chelsea. And, he's gone now. And I think, Kalidou Koulibaly was a great signing. He's a class center back, from Napoli.
Yeah, oh my God, Koulibaly. Okay, let's talk about the roller coaster that is Kalidou Koulibaly.
Yeah,
he goes from having great games, really consistent, always like showing off how we're really supposed to play as a Premier League level center back.
Yeah.
Then scores a phenomenal goal.
Yeah.
Then gets sent off, and then you don't know like what to get from him. It's also crazy because he sort of like shows and sets the standard of how sort of like the Premier League is played, because he said himself as a 31-year-old who's played at the top level. Okay, I'm gonna address this real quick. For anybody who's wondering why we've sort of changed our tones, we have a live audience right now for Matchweek, more than usual. Hello, everybody. How are we doing? If you want to introduce yourselves, I'll turn the mics on. You can say what's up.
You can say what's up if you want.
What's good?
Hello.
You gotta be near the mics.
I gotta be good.
What's good, bro? How you guys doing?
Yeah,
Jacob
I like this
Roby,
too.
incoming freshman.
Nice. How we doing, guys?
Hi.
Hello.
We're giving them a tour of the of everything.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Anytime. You guys can come anytime you want. I don't bite. Maybe. Who knows? Depends on the day. Depends on the day.
Who's your favorite Prem team?
Manchester United.
We're in love together.
Okay.
We'll get married in the future.
All right. Sounds great. I really like this guy.
We'll get married in the future. Thank you, man.
Thank you, guys. No problem.
So
Little intermission.
That was so funny because like we're trying to have a serious conversation,
Yeah.
but then like there's like 5 people just around us,
Just
like,
walked right in.
and they're just like looking at us like, oh, how are they doing this? You know?
But they had the on-air sign.
Yeah, I know. Really, I was actually thinking about buying one, but I don't got that kind of money. So here's the thing, right? Kalidou Koulibaly.
Yeah.
He's someone who, even in interviews, have said that yes, as someone who's played at a top level for a long time, playing in the Prem just shows how different of a beast it is in comparison to the Serie A, right? Mm-hmm. We know it to be a slower league. We know it to sort of give players an extended lifetime in the sport. Like, we look at Chris Smalling. Mm-hmm. Chris Smalling at United had like 2 or 3, in my opinion, good seasons there for his 8-year tenure, 9-year tenure. Yeah. Where now that he's been at AS Roma playing in the Serie A, it's like every season is a world beater season for him as a defender, and it just goes to show. I think being able to transition from a different league and show your quality in the Prem, is different than being in the Prem and then transitioning to a different league.
It is, because
being able to adjust a different style and sort of promote yourself into a different player just goes to show like how of a top level player it is. And we saw that even in the Arsenal team. We saw that with Asliba. We saw it with Tomiyasu. We've seen it with Martin Odegaard, right?
Yeah.
Martin Odegaard, youngest player to be signed at Real Madrid for the first team.
16 years old.
16 years old, was constantly going out on loan, came from Norway, right? Small, tiny kid, now leading the way for Arsenal,
Captain of Arsenal.
Exactly. So
youngest captain,
which just goes to show sort of the evolution that Arsenal's going through.
Yeah. And I think you're right too. It's especially nowadays with the younger players coming in, where you may see them either adapt or struggle quickly too. Because I was just thinking, going back to like Chelsea, because obviously, like I said, like I'm a German fan, and obviously I'm not the biggest Chelsea supporter, but I do love the players on the club. I loved when they, I wish Havertz and Werner went elsewhere, but I still love Havertz and Werner, and you saw Werner really struggle there. Havertz, he did slightly better than Werner, so they kept them on. And I still, you see this season, with Lukaku out, Werner out, Havertz has been the number 9 for Chelsea,
but he's not not 9.
He's kind of like. Almost like a 10, a 7, 11. It's like
7-11. The best way to explain Kai Havertz is that he is what Dele Alli was to Harry Kane, right? Mm-hmm. He's that like secondary striker / 10 who free roam, who free roams around that midfield and helps draw attention away from the striker, but also can put in a beautiful assist if need be, right? Yeah. So. And I just don't think Chelsea's using him right. I think Chelsea hasn't been using a lot of players right, personally, because Tuchel wants to go one way, but then the signings want to go another way, which now I think is going to be different with Todd Bowley. Mm-hmm. We've seen it with the likes of bringing in Cucurella. Like, Cucurella is a Thomas Tuchel player through and through, and is great for, let's say, God forbid, if Ben Chilwell ever gets injured again. We see it with the center backs coming in, right? When you have Wesley Fofana coming in, when you have Kalidou Koulibaly, like when you're bringing in these, I would say half of them are stopgaps. Like Koulibaly's 31, right? He's not going to be there for the future.
No.
But then you bring in also Wesley Fofana. It's like Fofana, who has been decent at Leicester, now gets to train under Thiago Silva, who is in his mid-30s, learn how to play from...
More like late 30. I think he's like 36, 37 now.
But think about that. Thiago Silva trained under Nesta Maldini. Let's not forget this. Yeah. 2 of the best center backs to ever play.
Oh,
right?
Unbelievable, yeah.
So now you're getting that experience from him. And then you also have Kalidou Koulibaly, who is a brute, who's going to teach you how to play like a brute, but also be nimble in the ball. Mm-hmm. So you have these 2 great options to really just be showing young players how to play at center back. Mm-hmm. Which I think the experience sort of leads to the old heads coming in, right?
Yeah.
And that's how... Big. That's how it's sort of going to develop.
Mm-hmm. And I think just looking at, it's almost like theoretically like Chelsea, with the players they brought in, they should have one of the best back lines like in the Prem. Look, if you have like Cucurella, Koulibaly, Fofana, and Reece James, who in my opinion over the past year, Reece James is phenomenal as like an outside back.
Wait. Would you start Cucurella over a Ben Chilwell?
I haven't Cucurella I think is good. I'll be honest, I don't think he was worth $60 million.
I think the
I don't think he was worth that much.
I think the $60 million was because they wanted to get him off City.
I think like half of that.
Well, but that's how the market is nowadays, right?
Very saturated.
You no longer get the price tags you want. Like Anthony, realistically, is a $50 million signing, right?
Yeah.
Like realistically, and that's fair. But because of inflation and prem tax, like that's all another thing we gotta understand, dude.
Yeah.
Selling the Premier League within Premier League when Brighton finished 9th, like that was their highest finishing season, and they're gonna sell off one of their stars. You better pay us so that way we can replace him with like 7 other players, right?
Yeah.
So
Kind of like what Palace did when they sold Wan-Bissaka. They paid $50 million for Wan-Bissaka. For Palace, that was a lot of money.
Yeah, it was
They used it well. I mean, I don't think Wan-Bissaka is 50 mil, but that's kind of what happened. But yeah, Cucurella, I think I think he could definitely start at left back. And the way Chelsea plays too, I mean, especially with Reece James. I mean, Reece James, you play him right back, right mid, right wing, he's going to perform. He's just kind of been like phenomenal on the right side for Chelsea, no matter where you play him.
I mean, he plays center back, he plays in the midfield. Like
I kind of like the 3 in the back for Chelsea, and they have like a wing back and a left and a right wing back.
Yeah, but
they have options.
They've been sort of forcing to go that 4 at the back, which I don't know if that will ever work for that Chelsea side. Just because they've been so accustomed to playing 5 at the back for so long.
Yeah.
Because they were introduced to it by Antonio Conte. They stuck with it with Mauricio Sarri, stuck with it with Frank Lampard, and then now trying to sort of train those tendencies out of those players, because I think Tuchel is realizing with having a Jorginho who might be out of the club, an aging N'Golo Kante, you still have the likes. But here's the thing, you still have the likes of a Mateo Kovacic and a Mason Mount who are still young. So do you start building a team where those 2 players can thrive and you can sort of start evolving your team, and then you find that new CDM, or even force Reece James to play that CDM role for them? And then sort of 100% you could. But then you sort of have to start forming and readjusting your team now to where it can sort of benefit in a different system and also bring something new to the club.
Yeah. And you know what? It's kind of like, that's kind of like looking down the line for the club, like with the future. And I think it's kind of up to Tuchel, the system he wants to play, along with, the options that he has at each position, what might be better, a 4 or a 5-back system. But like you have players too, like I also think the start of the season, almost like Kai Havertz is, Mason Mount too. I mean, we're only a couple games in, Chelsea's 5 games in, but Mason Mount is a player kind of, I guess, similar in a Kai Havertz role. I think he had a better season than Havertz last year, but he's still, you don't want him to be stagnant in his career. You want him to keep, because he has that potential, you know, to keep, performing well, almost like how Foden every year just keeps getting like better and better. So I think like Mount too, he has to find like his preferred position, because I feel like they most have been playing him as like an 8 or a 10, but he's been free roaming like on the wings and stuff like that.
Well, I think they've been forcing him to play like that right forward spot. Like he's been. I don't know how to explain. He's been playing like inverted winger. Basically, he's playing as a 10.
He's free roaming a lot.
Yeah, he's playing as a 10, but as right forward. Which is sort of an interesting way to phrase it. But that, like, I mean, here's the thing. Speaking of Chelsea, right? Let's go over some of these results for the weekend. And I think the Chelsea result sort of echoes how the Premier League is really shaping up this season. Yeah,
with Southampton coming out, with the victory on top. I mean, you also look at it. Sterling has been their leading goal scorer right now, right? After coming off, I mean, he never got consistent playing time with City the past few years. Now he's getting what he wants, and so far he's kind of showing that he deserves to be playing. And aging Sterling, so to speak, too.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing. Sterling has been on the decline within that City team. Yeah. His numbers were always going down, but
it has been struggling to find playing time with all that talent over there. Then he comes on. He always used to get blamed for missing sitters here and there. So it has been, and he's a player too. When you look at a player's career and you see, they've played for Liverpool, City, won 4 Premier Leagues. Now he's at Chelsea. He's on the 3 top clubs in the Premier League. He's class, but it hasn't been a straight slope upward in his career. It's been up, down, up, down, up, down, and I think kind of he was down at City. Now At Chelsea, he's starting. He's kind of having a little up. Will he continue with that upward slope with Chelsea throughout the season, or is he going to get a mid-season slump like how he's been? That's how he's kind of been in his career.
Yeah, I don't know, because I said this about Southampton when they played against United. Obviously, people didn't get to hear my opinion because we're a midweek show, so we didn't really get to get an episode out. But that type of game is the game that United usually loses, like how Chelsea just lost.
Yeah.
Because, like, Southampton, when they pull out performance, like, I think people got to stop discrediting Southampton for these past 2 games.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, beginning of the season, my predictions, I gave them a low placement, if I can find.
What'd you give them?
I'm trying to remember. I have it written down over here somewhere over the rainbow.
Yeah, you still have players on the team that are going to perform, like James Ward-Prowse.
I actually had Southampton get relegated.
Really?
Yeah, so I had Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth getting relegated.
Not Everton.
Not Everton.
Where did you have Everton?
Everton have 16th, and Nottingham have 17th.
Okay.
But Nottingham Forest has now made 19 signings, so I don't know if I should.
They
change
get all that money coming up from the championship.
Yeah, but you know what? They're spending it well.
Spending it. They have Dean Henderson. That was a good move for them.
That was a loan, yes. But the thing is that, like, I think this sort of wants me to divulge into our manager topic and stuff like that. Is that when you have someone at Nottingham Forest like Steve Cooper, where last season he thrived off of solely loan players coming in, whether it was James Garner for United or all these players coming from Southampton, Chelsea, Man City. So when we see all these players coming in and he's able to sort of prop them up and use them to be spectacular class players to get promoted, you sort of think, like, okay, let him take the Premier League players he wants, bed them into a team, because obviously the gap between being a championship team and a Premier League team is so big now.
It is.
Like, it's not as close as it used to be.
You need signings.
Like, you need money.
Signings.
Like, the money makes such a big difference because a summer transfer window in the championship is way different than a summer transfer window in the Premier League. And we see that now with Nottingham, where they had to basically replace their whole entire 11, bring in 8 extra players on top of that.
Got Jesse Lingard,
Jay Kings, Jay Lings, a little. What's up, bud? Come on.
Love that.
I did a little Jay Lingard hand gestures, but yeah, I mean, look, the thing is that it is a tough time to be a Premier League team, and we see that with Crystal Palace, Brentford. 2 teams that started off really, really well this season, right?
Yeah.
They drew. Crystal Palace being a class side, and I think as soon as they get Olise back into the team, we'll sort of see the talent that comes in. But real quick, you're listening. Top of the hour on WMSC Upper Montclair. But yeah, real quick, you see that within that some of that missing talent. Of course, Sam Allington will say otherwise, our resident Crystal Palace fan. We see that like the team's meshing well. Patrick Vieira's second season at Crystal Palace is going to be a fun one. And then Brentford, who've had a spectacular start, like almost as good as Arsenal's, right? And they've been sort of piecing together results. And of course, Fulham. What do you think about Fulham? Because a lot of people are iffy about them just because they don't know if Mitrovic is going to be able to perform at that level.
Yeah, I mean, Mitrovic, I think he had, 40-something goals last year in championships.
He broke the record that Ivan Toney set for championship goals. It was insane.
It was ridiculous. And I think he's already I know, opening day he scored 2 against Liverpool. He scored 1 against Arsenal. I don't know if he has any more, if he just has 3 goals right now.
I can check for you right now.
But, you look at, starting, their team that came up, they made signings. Like, they got Bernd Leno as a goalie. Bernd Leno, he was really Arsenal's number 1
on the out
until Ramsdale came in last year and just kind of swooped in and took his position.
Well, do you think that that's because Ramsdale sort of promotes that Arsenal culture? Like, do you think that Ramsdale, okay, let's be honest, he's a decent shot stopper. His distribution is okay, but yet the way he's able to direct that back line and sort of control how a team should play. Do you see that as a way to sort of replace Bernd Leno? Because we always knew he was class for Bayer Leverkusen.
Yes,
he was. He was honestly spectacular for that first season for Arsenal.
Yeah,
he was a really big difference maker. But then now having him rotate out. What was your thoughts on that? Did you think that he was good enough? Did you think that you guys really needed that change?
I think Ramsdale, when at first I was like, and he was one of the most hated signings when we pulled him in. He really was. And I had little to no issues with Leno. I love Leno. Another German player at Arsenal. I absolutely loved him. And, it was almost like bad timing for Leno and good timing for Ramsdale because, last year how it went down was we started 0-3.
Yeah.
And Arteta wanted to make changes. So it wasn't just a goalkeeper change, it was a back line change. We had Tomiyasu come in and start for us. Tierney, he was injured, he came back too. And it was almost like that one game that Ramsdale started last year. It was like a 1-0 victory, I think, against Norwich,
But he also had a big
last.
save against Timu Pukki. I think that's what it was that really solidified it for him.
Yeah, it was that one game where we started him, we won after going 0-3, so Arteta had to make changes, and then we won like 3 games in a row. So it was really such good timing for Ramsdale, and I think that it wasn't like he got in out of luck because he proved himself, and he should be our number one. And I think with Leno, I'm happy for him because he should be starting in the Prem. Should be starting in the Prem. Now he's at Fulham. He's starting, and really that game we beat Fulham 2-1 the other day. We almost tied, and I think if we did tie, Leno was being man of the match because he made some unbelievable saves in that game too. But I think it was almost like a mixture of timing that kind of Ramsdale just came in and started, and I think he has a lot of room to prove. But I think what you said kind of about like the Arsenal culture is that Ramsdale, he's a true leader. I think he leads from the back, and everyone can see that. He's loud, he's vocal. He has that passion.
But he has that vision. I think like the way. That's why I don't get me wrong. That's why I don't think he's the best goalie, but his vision within a team, right? The way how he's able to see the game for the rest of the team, to be able to make some of those decisions, I think is really what solidified him under Arteta, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's why Arteta's also brought in someone like a Matt Turner, right, from the MLS.
Yeah.
Like, granted, don't get me wrong, backup keeper, but still, like, to bring in someone from the MLS, like City did with Zach Steffen, like, you don't get them unless they're, like, actually decent goalkeepers, right?
Yeah, they're going to perform.
Yeah.
They have, you could put them in, and you're comfortable with them playing in that position. Matt Turner's a little older. I think he's like 30, 31.
Yeah.
But
I mean, for goalkeepers, it doesn't matter. Like,
Buffon's
like, what, 43, 44, still playing?
So.
He's playing in City B. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so that clearly age doesn't matter for a goalie as much as, other position. But I think, Matt Turner coming in, he is going to get a more playing time than people think. Maybe not in a Prem, but, with, our Carabao Cup, FA Cup, maybe some Europa League. And, if there's ever an injury for the goal that you want to have is that, if there's an injury to a starter, say Ramsdale gets injured, knock on wood.
Oh, yeah, God forbid,
you want a keeper to come in, Matt Turner to come in, and there be little to no drop in the level of play of the team. And that's, like you said, when you're signing a player, especially a keeper from the MLS, you're signing them for a reason, that they show, potential, they have that vision, they have that passion. And, Turner, he even said, he's an Arsenal fan, so he has that passion too. And there is even a video of him like refusing to sign like a Tottenham shirt, which all the Arsenal fans love to see. But it's good to have him because he's going to get playing time in those cup games. That's where he's going, and that's where he should be able to prove himself. And but push
even
the shove, he could
even
play.
in like those like one-off Europa League games, right, when it's against like an SC Braga, right?
Yeah.
Like those games, like you don't need to have a Ramsdale in and give Matt Turner the minutes. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, with all the players, like even you said earlier about Sammy Lukonga. Lukonga, he got more minutes in the Premier League last year than I think that he should have got, but that's comes to depth issues. But
I think that's also, I think Arteta's like playing a game that he played at City, that him and Pep would do, like throwing players in the fire and see if they turn into coal or into a diamond, right?
Yeah.
And we saw them do that with the Phil Foden. We saw them do that with Zinchenko. Look, it sort of worked out for Lukonga, right? Because now he's actually a legitimate talking point.
Yeah,
like
he is.
Like fans aren't just thinking like, oh, you know what, like he's there, like maybe why not? But he's not like, oh, Zinchenko's out. What if we start with Lukonga and Chaka? Or what if Chaka's out? What if we start Lukonga and Zinchenko? It's there's now a question that can be asked with a lot of fans.
Yes, and like you said, like that's not it's a good problem to have. And I think Lukongo, he got those minutes, and he's maybe a little bit more comfortable now. And then we kind of saw that last year so we had, as a left back before Zinchenko, we had Nuno Tavares come and got a lot of playing time, and he was one of those players that was kind of like inconsistent. One game good, one game bad.
Well, did you guys just send him out on loan, if I'm not mistaken?
So we just sent him out on loan.
Yeah.
I think I want to say, I'm not sure if it was Marseille or Lyon. We sent him out to a French club.
I thought it was Lyon.
Might be Lyon. I think we sent him out to, but I think
actually, wait, just imagine you send him back to Marseille or sleep with the well. It's like, go back to the same club, see what happens.
Let's get another one. But I think it could be good for him. But at the same time, I kind of like last year our left back pairing was Tierney, Nuno Tavares. Now our left back it's Tierney, Zinchenko, which is an upgrade.
Yeah, 100%.
It's an upgrade.
So. Just to go back into some of these results, to answer your question earlier, Mitrovic has 5 goals already.
He does.
Five goals in 5 games.
It's a good start.
That's crazy. Crazy, I say crazy. And then now Leeds, Everton 1-1. I mean, new signing Sinistera scoring a goal. Anthony Gordon, that's supposedly going to Chelsea, bags a goal for Everton, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we see for Leeds is the American project right now. This is the team where we're like, Jesse March, USA, USA. Come on, we need him to do well for us.
Yeah,
he's really for our name. But you see the likes of Brendan Harrison, you see
he's been playing
Tyler Adams.
Too.
I mean, it's been such a solid team. And then Rodrigo,
what does he have? 5 goals too, right? 4 or 5 goals.
It makes no sense with him because right now he has 4 goals.
4 goals,
1 assist in 5 matches. Great start. No one thought Rodrigo, someone who's 31 years old.
Yeah.
Who transferred to Leeds, has been a bit inconsistent for the past 2 seasons, could come out of the league and just be ruining everybody's FPL.
Yeah.
Him and Salah have been ruining everyone's fantasy Premier League.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's been able to have a form like he's had was just crazy. I mean, it's kudos to him. But granted, he did just suffer injury in that game, shoulder injury. He's going to be out until early October. So we'll see how Leeds fare with that. But then maybe that can lead to cheeky.
Love that.
Maybe that can lead to some younger players getting some minutes because they have Somerville, an attacker. They also have Patrick Bamford, who is slowly coming back from injury. Yeah. You have Daniel James, someone who I'll say this till the day I die, someone who I wish United never sold. I like James. I love Reece James. Daniel James. I'm sorry. I do this all the time because you know what it is? Because I say Daniel James and then Besmer says Reece James, and he does it to mess with me. So then I start doing it now just because you see he lives rent free in my head. He really does. But no. Here's the thing. I don't think people were calling this the battle of relegation, but I don't think either side is a relegation contender side. I mean, Everton, there's an argument because
I think they have to kind of fix some stuff because they've been shaky. Definitely Leeds.
Well, here's the thing: bringing in a Connor Cody and a Tarkowski in your back line makes a big difference.
Huge,
because you're used to Michael Keane and a Yerry Mina consistently being injured.
Yeah,
so then now,
helped.
Yeah, exactly. So then now having in 2 proven quality, Connor Cody was spectacular for Wolves.
He was.
He's an English international.
He's
always
gets the call
up
with them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's a versatile player.
And then Tarkowski, someone who was very, very consistent for Burnley for the longest time, is someone who you bring in, which is class for Everton. So I don't think Everton should be too worried. Granted, I think Dele Alli is officially gone now. He went to Beşiktaş.
Yeah, he's in a Turkish league now.
Yeah, Dele Alli, man. We go from having him as player of the year, someone who's supposed to be on the up and up. The next Wayne Rooney, he was touted.
The 17, 18, 16, 17 seasons were
even 18, phenomenal. 19. It was just as soon as that 19, 20 season hit, different player.
Yeah.
Different player.
Totally different.
I mean, do you think that that's a hit for Everton? Or because in my personal opinion, when you had a Dele Alli and a Donny van de Beek coming in that last 6 months of the season, it really helped them stay up. Because they had a few performances where it was make or break, keep them up. Yeah. And then now they have Solomon Rondon on the bench, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin's still injured.
Yeah.
You have Ruben I might actually, Ruben Vinagre, I'm going to call him. I don't know how to say his name. I apologize. He's Portuguese. Maz, you would probably know how to say his name. Ruben Vinagre coming in on loan, who is supposed to be a stopgap attacker, meant to help out. And then you still have the likes of a big midfield wage structure. Like you have Iwobi, you have Onana, you have Davies, you have
Will Gordon stay? Will he leave?
You have Allen, you have Gomes.
Allen too. You're right.
How about Andre Gomez, my guy?
Yeah.
Like someone who was seen as like a class player for Everton, was a Barcelona player. I think we all forget that.
Yeah.
To now just like being on the bench. Yeah.
It's crazy, but I think one of the biggest losses for Everton, and some people might not agree with this, they may or may not. I think is that just because of the work ethic, is losing Richarlison.
Yeah,
is kind of huge for them.
Also, 14 goals. Like who's going to replace those 14 goals?
Yeah, I mean, they think they're looking for DCL, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, to come in and do that too. But
how many times can you rely on a striker who's consistently getting injured time and time again? Right?
Yeah, you're right. But that's why I think losing Richarlison is a big thing. And just as a future update, I just got one right now. We have a Kanji to Man City from Dortmund.
Okay.
So another addition.
Okay. Yep. You know what? Right now, we'll break a few of the breaking news, but I will say no call to actions. But if you'd like to listen in later, 10 p.m., we are doing our deadline day transfer announcements. We'll be going in through and through announcing all the transfers that have been happening today. Even the likes of, you didn't hear about this, Fabian Ruiz to PSG from Napoli. Mm-hmm. Napoli's getting pillaged. They're losing players. Plus PSG, they also just signed Carlos Soler from Valencia. So, those are the two I'm going to drop for you right now. We got big transfers coming in. Coming in at the hour. Fabrizio Romano's in my DMs telling me what's going on. No, I'm just joking. Just imagine. It'd be crazy. But yes, guys, if you're interested, remember, no call to actions. Matchweek tagline. No call to actions. If you're interested in coming in later at 10 p.m., we'd be more than happy to have you. Thank you. But yeah, Akanji to Man City. City are just problem. Throw money.
Yep, that's it.
Just throw it to the fire. Why not? But I'm actually interested to see an Akanji and Ruben Neves back line with having Cancelo,
Ruben Diaz,
and Kyle Walker. Mm-hmm. I mean, even Sergio Gomez, who they just got recently too. He's someone that was sort of that Cucurella replacement for them, and who they end up getting cheaper. So
yeah,
it's gonna be interesting time. Interesting time.
I think one the other things that you kind of see, because Man City, they also picked up from Leeds was Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens with a lot of these Prem teams, like we talked about, the Prem teams, they'll get promoted. The championships will be promoted to the Prem. They get money. They spend money on players. A lot of times they may have a good season where they get top half the table. But then, you got to look at what happens to that. Like, take Leeds, for example. Leeds got promoted. They almost they weren't fighting for relegation. They were kind of more like a top half. They were a decent team. But then you lose players like Rafinha and Calvin Phillips.
I mean, here's the thing, right? So their first season up, they had a half decent season. They're around the 12th, 10th place.
Yeah, mid-table.
Yeah, and then the second season where it was an issue because
players leave.
Yeah, no. Marcel Bielsa. Don't forget, Leeds been for 2 seasons now.
Yes.
So Marcel Bielsa, who's a forward, attacking, nonstop, play the beautiful football, was just getting bad result after bad result after bad result, and then it got to the point where they were really, really close to getting relegated. It was between them, Everton, and Burnley.
Yeah, last year was tough for them.
Yeah, so then having a Jesse Marsch come in, sort of stabilize, help them keep them up. And I think now, with the signings they've made, they're sort of better off without Calvin Phillips and Rafinha, because now you're on lower wages. You've bought in players of almost equal quality. Tyler Adams, I don't think he's not there yet, but he's close.
Yes.
Sinistera is someone from the Eredivisie. So granted, he scored yesterday. Yeah. But we got to see what he does if he hits the ground running. It's a very interesting time to be a Leeds fan, especially when one of your best players gets bought from Man City just to be on the bench.
Yeah, that's
50 million for the bench.
Happens,
why not?
Right?
Why not? Rotation player. We'll get him in someday. Can't fathom that. I really can't. But even this past weekend of results, you had Brentford, Everton tie again. Brighton beat Leeds. Chelsea get that win over Leicester. Liverpool 9-0 over Bournemouth with Scott Parker getting sacked.
Yeah.
Do you think... Now, here's the thing. I don't think that it was only because of that game. I think it's because of all the games leading up to it.
You had the Arsenal game, beat them 3-0.
I was about to say, because if we look at all of Bournemouth's
it's a
results,
It was the cherry on top.
Yeah,
And I
because
think that was the biggest cherry, a 9-0 defeat.
they started off the league well, right? They had 2-0 win against Aston Villa. Okay, you know, like,
Villa's kind of struggling too, so.
yeah, but the next game 4-0 against City,
Yeah.
3-0 against Arsenal. They tied 2-2 and went to penalties against Norwich City in the EFL Cup, and then now 9-0 to Liverpool.
Yeah.
You want to know what I think the reasoning behind it was? I think because Scott Parker was in charge of Fulham last season, and we saw how big of a drop-off that team had, that I don't think Bournemouth wanted to risk it with Scott Parker. Like, they just didn't trust him anymore. So now they're bringing in a temporary manager until they find a new one. And here's the thing. Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest are the two teams that show what you do if you're a newly promoted championship side.
Yes, you can see a big difference.
It's either you spend the money, bring in the players, and you put in all these like relegation clauses and stuff like that for when if you take the drop.
Yes.
So that way you don't have to keep paying out the ridiculous wages, which is fair enough to the clubs.
Fair enough to the clubs.
Because in the championship you don't get the same money. It's plain and simple.
Yeah.
And then you get 19 signings, whatever. Or you pull a Bournemouth, you barely sign anybody, you take the money while you can, and you just hold it out in the Premier League, make your money until you get dropped back to the championship.
Yeah.
Like, there really isn't, it doesn't really seem like there's a plan to stay up for Bournemouth.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and that's kind of what it is when you see the teams up. Once you come up, you got to spend the money because you need the players that maybe aren't getting the playing time and other clubs, and that could be useful to you, like Nottingham Forest. Like you see, like Dean Henderson and Jesse Lingard, both from United, and they're going to come in, they're going to play. They have Premier League experience, not much, but I mean more so for Jay Lings, but that's what you need. That's what you need to perform. And I think going back to because you mentioned Fulham again. And Mitrovic, we said we had 5 goals. And just watching that Arsenal-Fulham game, I mean, from watching, I was upset watching from Arsenal standpoint because we couldn't guard Mitrovic on corners, even like they had long throw-ins in the box. Like, we just could not guard him. And I could imagine, if Mitrovic he's kind of came in and he was like, Premier League ready to play.
Well, he played for Newcastle for a bit.
Yes, he was Newcastle, yeah.
And then he got transferred to Fulham. He still had a great season for Fulham. I think when his first season in the Prem with Fulham, he had, 14 goals?
Yeah, that was the year before they came up because they were...
Yeah, because
they got relegated.
They came up, relegated, came back up.
Up and down. They've been up and down.
That was with Scott Parker.
That's kind of like how Norwich and Watford have been. They're up, down, up, down.
But the thing is, like...
It's a roller coaster ride.
Fulham are a different team because of the new people they've brought in, right? So then now they have a Marco Silva, someone who was in charge of Watford for the longest time. He was the one who got them promoted.
Yeah.
The one who was with them for a bit. And then, of course, they've obviously... Watford are the definition of the crazy ex-girlfriend who's constantly rotating through boyfriends, right? It's like... I think they went through 9 managers within a 2-year time span.
It's ridiculous.
Like, Watford were the ones who were constantly rotating through. But Marco Silva, obviously a great manager. And also, they had a great transfer window. They brought in Issa Diop. They brought in Mbabu.
Diop was good. Mbabu too, great from Wolfsburg.
They got Shane Duffy. Oh yes, from Wolfsburg. That's correct. Because Wolfsburg got relegated, so you're able to pillage that club easy.
Bernd Leno.
My only concern though is I said this in the also Andreas Pereira from United. Yeah, great signing. I also said this is about Palhinha from Sporting Lisbon. Yep, Palhinha from Sporting Lisbon. There we go. But again, and also Bernd Leno, we talked about him.
Yes.
I do think that the biggest issue is that in the back line you still have a Tim Ream.
Yeah.
Like, Besmer and I will argue this day in and day out. Oh, he's been in the Premier League for 7 seasons out of his 13th season playing career, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, it doesn't matter how long you've played in the Prem or where you've played. He's not good enough for what needs to happen. Like, Fulham, they need equality in the back line because in the Premier League, and especially when you have a striker like Mitrovic who's going to get you goals, you need to have solidity in that back line. It's plain and simple. Because you can't just keep relying on having a half-decent season because of Mitrovic and then you barely survive the drop. Like, no. Like, you can get a mid-table finish if you just fix up your back line. And I don't think people understand it.
It's huge. And, like Mbappe, he didn't even start the other day. I don't know why, but
He got subbed on.
he came on.
I think because they want to bet him in right. They don't want him just to they don't want to shock him right away and just throw him right into the Premier League. Because not everyone's a Koulibaly, right? They're not gonna be able to just adjust very well to it.
Yeah, and I also think their left back, the American Anthony Robinson, he gave Bukayo Saka so many struggles the other day.
Yeah,
and he had the same thing, when they played Liverpool too. He kind of held his ground for the most part, but that's another American you have in the Premier League, and he's kind of more. I think Anthony Robinson has a lot to work on too, but he kind of showed some good character playing in some big games for them. And I think coming, from a good standpoint, I was going to say this about Matt Turner earlier, talking about the United States heading into the World Cup, they're almost in a better situation now than they've ever been before because they have so many, players now in, playing in Europe in more or less the Premier League, between Brendan Harrison, Tyler Adams, Robinson, Turner. He might not get as many minutes, but he's still training with Arsenal every single day, and he's gonna get
Pulisic,
obviously.
But he's gonna get European minutes though. It's not like he's not gonna play in the Europa League.
Yeah.
He's gonna be playing these cup ties and let's be real, playing against a championship side in the FA Cup sort of means more than playing in the MLS.
Yeah.
It's just playing.
100%.
It's just how cutthroat it is. It's just not as good. Plain and simple.
And I think, what's his name? Is it Omar Richards?
Yeah, Omar Richards.
Yeah, him too.
Look, I'm trying to think because
he came from Bayern, but he was never going to play.
Well, there's
Bayern.
two Richards that were signed.
There's Chris Richards
and Omar Richards. One signed for Nottingham and one signed for.
Was it? I'm not sure if it was Fulham or someone else.
Nottingham, and no, not Fulham. Oh, we talked about this, and I'm really angry. I feel
like they're white though. They have white jerseys, right?
Wait, is it Tottenham?
I don't believe so.
Well,
also, another move.
The American.
Talking about Americans. While you search that up, Serginho Dest, Barca want him out.
Well, because Barca need to raise funds somehow.
They need to raise funds, but supposedly links to United or
Omar Richards.
Omar Richards, yes,
is one playing for Nottingham Forest. I think Chris Richards, went to Spurs. I'm gonna take a wild guess to say Spurs. I'm gonna check their lineup right now. But continue, Kenny.
Yeah, no, Serginho Dest. I liked him at Barca, but Barca has their own problems. But I think transfer deadline today, let's all Americans, keep an eye on Serginho Dest where he heads. What form do you want him going into the World Cup? Because I think he's a clear start for an outside back position over like DeAndre Yedlin, who's been playing in the MLS.
Well, no, but he's been playing in Turkey. I thought no.
Yedlin.
Yeah, I thought he was playing for Galatasaray.
He was, but he's on Inter Miami.
Really?
I just saw and you know what? I didn't know where he was. I went to the Red Bulls versus Inter Miami game over the weekend.
Because I picked the Red Bulls, but I had no idea he was playing for Inter Miami. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I see Yedlin, and I turned to my friend Zach and was like, "Hey, is that the Andre Yedlin at right back for Inter Miami?" He's like, "Yeah, I mean, well, he obviously has Premier League experience, but he's a little bit older now."
Crystal Palace, Chris Richards.
That's it. Yes, Chris Richards at Palace. That's so. Sam would have known that.
Sam would have known.
Sam
Allington, you've been ignoring my phone calls and my texts. What's good, buddy? Matchweek. I'm joking. I haven't texted him. I don't want to make him seem like a bad guy. No. But yes, Chris Richards was at Crystal Palace, and then now, as you said, DeAndre Yedlin ends up playing for Inter Miami. Someone who left the Prem too soon.
Me too.
He was forced out of Newcastle just because of a price tag because Mike Ashley was a horrendous owner.
Then went to Galatasaray.
I'm surprised he left Galatasaray because they always consistently get Champions League. It's Turkey, so it's really high paying. Like, I've never heard of someone go to Turkey and not make money if they come from outside.
Yeah, I mean, and they're always fighting for the title there.
Also, the fans, dude. Like, the fans, like, if you're good enough, they love you. They love you to the day you die. Mm-hmm. Even Drogba. Like, fans of Galatasaray consider Drogba more of a Galatasaray legend than like Chelsea fans do. Like, it's actually crazy how much they love their players. Mm-hmm. But I mean, yeah, that's a big surprise. I mean, it is also very, very exciting to be an American for the World Cup.
It is. I think I still think that all these players that are in like their early getting to mid 20s, Pulisic he's 23, turns 24 in September. This will be good for him, but still 23 is a little young. I think next World Cup, 2026, hosted in North America.
By the way, we've explained this before. I'm taking a mortgage out on my life, or taking a loan somewhere, going to a loan shark, or however I get the money, I'm getting tickets to the World Cup final.
I'd have to agree too, because that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But I think going to be on a home soil U.S. in 4 years, where you have more like the likes of players like Pulisic, Adams, Aronson, they're going to should be in their prime between that 26 to 29 range.
Also, dude, the fans are going to be insane.
Fans are going to they're on their home turf.
I mean, granted, we are sharing it with Canada and Mexico, but still,
70% of fields are in the United States.
70%
of fields are in the United States.
I'm feeling goosebumps already, bro. It's 4 years away, but goosebumps already, man. Oh man, but I'm still excited for this World Cup. I think this World Cup we'll have a decent finish. Yeah,
I think you look at their group stage for the United States. You have England, which obviously they're favorites to win the stage. You got Wales.
Yeah.
Their first World Cup, I think, since the 60s. Kudos to, Gareth Bale, all and for him and all he's done for them. Then you have Iran, too, and you look at these teams like Iran, they're going into the World Cup, and those aren't pushover teams, because those are teams, you look at them last World Cup that they were in 2014, Argentina beat them 1-0. They're basically they know what they're going to sit back, defend, and look for a counter, and they're hard to penetrate.
I agree, but I wouldn't use Argentina as that standard of comparing difficulty with smaller sides, because granted, even that 2014 World Cup, they made it to the final, right? But it was a lot of 1-0, barely getting results. They
had a bunch of games like that.
They were struggling to handle teams.
They were.
And I think that's just because of the Argentinian cohesion, with always having the over reliance on Messi and not really relying on other stars like Di Maria, and now having Paulo Dybala. That Argentina team, I think, will do. Okay, already hot take coming in. That Argentina team will do better as soon as Messi leaves the Argentina setup, plain and simple.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, they have been. I mean, you have Lautaro Martinez coming, who's playing phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of Rodrigo De Paul. He's at Atletico, great midfielder. And I mean, you look at the defense. Lisandro Martinez, Argentinian defender who's playing in the Prem now. You could play him at outside back. You could play him at center back.
You could play him at CDM.
You could play him. You have these other Argentinian players coming up. I mean, I still want to. I wouldn't totally agree with Messi, them being better without Messi.
Well, because I'm seeing it how Ronaldo at United is right now. It's Argentina, they've had their stars in the past, right? They've had the Maradonas, the Verones, and everything, right? But Argentina has always been about Argentina.
They have. Mm-hmm.
And when you have Messi in there, it's all about Messi, right? He's bigger than the project, which isn't. It's supposed to be the other way around. The project's supposed to be bigger than you. And it's the thing in United. United has never been a team where we've had one player bigger than the club itself, right? Don't get me wrong, Wonder Kid Ronaldo and the beginning of CR7 Ronaldo, don't get me wrong, but at that time he wasn't bigger than United, right? He was synonymous with United. Wayne Rooney,
he was part of that project.
Yeah, Wayne Rooney was never bigger than Manchester United. Even Rio Ferdinand, David Beckham, all these players, they were never bigger than United.
Yeah.
So I that's the issue I see with Argentina.
Fair enough,
that they have somebody who's bigger than the project itself, and we don't know where that project could go.
Yeah. Because it is the fair thing to say about Argentina. It's if there's a game Argentina wins and Messi doesn't score, it's they carried Messi. They always has that burden on him where you feel like Argentina plays, it's Messi's got to score, otherwise he didn't play well. And that you're right, and it kind of comes with that thing where he's kind of bigger thing. But you look at it, even their Copa America final win, I think it was Di Maria who scored the goal. Di Maria in my terms, he reminds me of Thomas Mueller, because they look like they haven't aged, and they're consistently good throughout their whole career.
No, but Di Maria was, I think, one of the best in the world at one point. I think everyone forgets how
good he was,
insane he was at Real Madrid.
Oh, he was phenomenal before he left.
And then and he was forced out because of a wonder goal, James Rodriguez, who now plays in Qatar.
Yeah, I mean his career was very short lived at Real Madrid. I honestly think some of his best years James had
Was at
when he
Bayern.
was at exactly
Yeah.
was at Bayern Munich. Those 2 years that he had with Bayern where he played phenomenal.
Every time he plays well, it's always under Carlo Ancelotti. And even that first season when he was at Everton, right?
Yeah.
That first season before he got injured, he was looking electric in the Premier League. He was so fun to watch.
He was. But I think it's the same thing with even I look at Coutinho when he left to Barcelona. Coutinho's best year was when he was on loan to Bayern Munich.
Yeah. But I think that's just managers knowing how to use players right.
Yeah, that's a big part
And
of
Barcelona they never wanted to use him right. Like they didn't understand like where he played because he's a proper number 10.
Yeah.
Like he has to play in and behind. And then I think at the time they still had Iniesta at the club and Messi was still there, and Messi's like that free roam that goes from playing 10 to playing on the wing, and like it's really like an inverted weird system that you have to adjust to. So it's very, very difficult to sort of prop yourself up at a team that doesn't want to prop you up, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because he was sort of used to being the main guy. Let's not forget, at Liverpool, he was the Don John, right?
He was amazing.
That was his,
Class.
it was the Coutinho team.
Even at Villa right now, I think just the Premier League in general could just be a better fit for him. Because at Villa, he's not bad.
Well, I think it's just Steven Gerrard knowing how to use him.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. And I think the thing is too, which I always, whenever people tell me, you know, you look at Werner, like him at Chelsea, like he struggled, and everyone they kind of downplay Timo Werner. My analogies that the players that I always pick out is that, like you said, it's the coach and a system. And here's the two players: Kevin De Bruyne and Mohamed Salah.
Oh my God.
Both played for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Not everyone kind of overshadows that, but at Chelsea, you know, I think De Bruyne was there was when Mourinho was in. I forget who was the manager when Salah.
They were both there.
Both there with Mourinho, right? And you know, it's this system, and they just couldn't perform. Then they go elsewhere. They come back, and they are, you know, two of the, you know, arguably the best players in the Prem,
or even in the world.
City, in the world.
Let's not just like freight over it. They're one of the best in the world.
Yeah, and it's factual. And you know what I think it is, and it's just an unfortunate situation. And but you know, almost it could be too. It's, you know, like De Bruyne, he went, you know, over to Werder Bremen, and he was.
Was it Werder? I thought it was Wolfsburg.
Oh yeah, it might be Wolfsburg. Yeah,
no, it was Wolfsburg.
Wolfsburg or Werder Bremen.
When he when he had that that season in the Europa League, Kevin De Bruyne. Oh my God,
it was class.
Like, it's crazy to me because there's some kids nowadays that don't understand when you see these players like break through and them evolve into the player they are. Like, there's some kids who's like, oh, De Bruyne's just De Bruyne at City. Who cares? Like, I don't think you understand what it took for De Bruyne to be De Bruyne at City.
There.
Because his first season at City, he was always ridiculed for, his weak foot wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't know how to find the right player on the diagonal and stuff.
Yeah.
And then that next season, it's like, wow. Like, you can't tell what foot he is anymore. The passes that he's able to create, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and even with, like, you know, Salah too, just going out and getting that. I think where was he? He's at Roma,
went to
right?
He went to Fiorentina, and then he went to Roma,
Yeah,
and then
Roma.
Liverpool,
and then he went to Liverpool. And obviously, you see like what he's done now, and he's just been like out of this world. And you know, one player too, that's been on my watch from the Bundesliga from last season and is still there is Christoph Nkunku.
Yes,
because I'm just waiting for him.
He was a PSG starlet.
He was,
and I think it was just he was there at the wrong time because now that PSG have Galtier and they're trying to promote more of like a youthful side and a youth system program, that if you still had a Maignan, Nkunku, because don't forget Maignan was a PSG keeper as well.
Yes,
like if you still had those players in, that it would be a it would be a whole different team, realistically.
Yeah, completely.
And Nkunku, he's someone who was supposed to be touted for a Premier League transfer.
Yeah.
Like City, Chelsea, United, Arsenal, Tottenham, everybody was linked to him, but no one was able to get him out.
But I think that I like players, especially in the Bundesliga. I like when players have a good season and they stay, because I feel like that's what Havertz did. I remember when he had his outstanding season for Leverkusen, him and Julian Brandt. Brandt left to Dortmund, but I like when they stay at that club. And you know, Nkunku, can he do it again?
Yeah,
and it's almost like it's like a risk for them, because if they don't, then people are gonna be like, all right, he was a fraud. But can he prove himself again, another year in not only that, I mean, Champions League, he played phenomenal too last year.
The thing is that he was playing everywhere on the pitch.
Yeah.
He was playing
He's that
center
free
forward.
roaming that we're talking about.
No, but like he was playing center forward. He was playing CDM. He was playing box to box.
Yeah.
Like he was everywhere.
He's such a good player.
He's class. He's real quality of a player.
He's class, yeah.
Now, Kenny, we have to make our weekend. Today predict. I'll be saying weekend predictions. We have to make our predictions for today and for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So today we have. I'm gonna tell you the
yes.
first game, 2:30, Bournemouth versus Wolves.
Yes.
What are your prediction for the result?
No, I'm going to go a struggling Wolves too, but an even more struggling Bournemouth. You know, I'm going to go 2-0 to Wolves because I think Bournemouth, they're still struggling to score. And I think Wolves are kind of due for, they need to get something going. And I forget, they just tied Newcastle. But they should have beat Newcastle. St. Maximin had a nice goal at the end.
I feel it's tough to say because Newcastle was looking so
They
good.
have been. Newcastle been looking good too, but I think I'd go 2-0 Wolves today in that match. You?
I'm going for a draw, and I think it's going to be 1-1.
1-1.
Because I'm sticking for that Wolves relegation prediction.
Okay.
I need that to stay true so I don't look like a schmuck. But no, that's I think it's gonna be a draw, respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
Just because now with a new manager and the Bournemouth players getting thrashed by Liverpool, I think they want that bounce back game.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're desperate for it. Next, it's your boys, Ken.
Yep.
Arsenal versus Aston Villa.
Mm-hmm.
What are we thinking?
You know what? Aston Villa's been struggling, but they're eventually their slump is going to end. I don't want it to be today. And Arsenal, we're on the high end, and I think I know from a standpoint too, I kind of want a win from an Arsenal standpoint. You want to win going into United. You don't want to lose Sevilla or drop points, and then we go and drop points, at Old Trafford. You don't want to do that. So I think, home at the Emirates, we have a 2-1 victory today. That's what I would go with.
2-1.
2-1 victory for Arsenal. That's what I got. That's what I would go with. Because I think we've also been struggling, to keep that clean sheet. Because I feel like, and the way we've been playing, they might sneak out a goal via, which I could definitely see happening. But with our offense and our attack, I think at least 2 goals today should be coming. Maybe we get a Jesus goal or like a.
Oh, I hate rooting for Arsenal, but I need a Jesus goal for FPL.
Okay, for FPL,
I really need it for FPL.
Mm-hmm.
I use my triple captain on him yet, but last thing, dude, Gabby Jesus, the way I always changed it, even that first game,
creating chances left and right.
That's what I was angry about for my FPL as well. It was his first game of the season, and these Arsenal guys can't finish chances he's creating. I was saying other not nice words.
Yeah, he's got 3 assists, I think, right now.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good. He's looking really
3
good.
assists.
So that's why I'm thinking that it's going to be 6-5 to Arsenal. Nah, I think it's going to be like a 3-1 to Arsenal. 3-1.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I could see that too. I was kind of debating between 3-1 and 2-1, but I kind of the way you've been playing, I go with 2-1.
And I don't think it's to downgrade Villa at all. I think it's just because they're riding so high on form.
Yeah, we're in top form right now.
What do you think? This game can go sideways if you don't have a Zinchenko nor a Thomas Partey in, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a bit of a different shape in the midfield for that team.
Should see if we start, Zinchenko or Lukongo, depending on
on fitness and stuff. Yeah,
fitness, injuries, but I think our going into the game, we're definitely going to have some moves being saved. I mean, there's also been talk of sliding Ben White into that D-mid position. But I think I'd rather have him out as, an outside back.
You're better off having Saliba there and having Gabriel and Ben White behind him.
Yeah.
Sort of like a back 5 in a way.
Yeah.
And have Saliba be the tip of the back 5 and have Ben White and Gabriel supporting behind him.
Yeah. I mean, we could even just,
Two of them. I think you guys get away with 2 in the midfield.
That's what I was just going to say.
Like Odegaard and Xhaka or Odegaard and Lokanga.
Put another striker up, putting Ketty up with Jesus.
Yeah,
2 strikers.
But here's the thing, because even if you have let's say, Bukayo Saka and Martinelli, like even if you throw in Nketiah in there too, Jesus will play way more creative and sort of play in that midfield three in a sense, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we could even slide and just make, Odegaard drop in a little bit and put in Smith Rowe. He's been injured all preseason. He's been coming off the bench, but in this lineup, it's hard for him to get minutes. But this could be a potential day, You could have like Zaka, Odegaard, and then Smith Rowe in a 10 position. Odegaard's more than 8.
I mean, Smith Rowe, it's tough because how do you start over a informed Martinelli?
Yeah.
And how do you start over an informed Odegaard, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're really not you're really just like not helping yourself there in that case.
It's tough. He's almost like just become, even the second half of last season, he's become like our super sub, which is what you want. You need someone with quality, someone who could potentially start coming off the bench, and start. So I think there's going to be a lot of I think it's going to be interesting the team that we put out today.
Yeah. Next, we have Man City versus Nottingham Forest.
And coming off Haaland's hat trick.
Yes,
6
Haaland
goals.
is inevitable at this point. He
really is. I mean, and as much as you could probably say too, City's not a team like from an Arsenal standpoint. Like I really hate Chelsea and Tottenham. But like City is a team where I have no true hatred from, but it's so annoying. The past 5 years it's annoying because they just keep on winning and they won't drop points. You know what I mean? They just won't drop points. And every day I'm like, all right, when is today the day? They're they're losing 2-1 to Palace, and then Haaland has a hat trick.
Yeah.
And then they were losing 3-1 to Newcastle. Haaland scores. So I think today I could see like a 3-0 victory to City with Haaland maybe bagging 1 or 2 goals. Even are they home or away?
They are. I can tell you right now. They are home in the Etihad.
At the Etihad.
Or the Empty Had.
The Empty Had. Yeah.
Okay.
I could maybe see like a 3-1, but I think I could see like Haaland scoring. Gundogan scores in one of my favorite midfielders. Another German. You even have like Foden or Silva. They just have so many options at home. Riding a high. As long as I don't want it to happen, I could see like a 3-0 victory coming from him.
Here's the thing. You're forgetting about one special player. Jesse Lingard.
Jay Lings.
The
boy.
He loves to perform against big teams.
Yeah, he does.
You talk about Haaland hat tricks. How about Jesse Lingard quadruples, my guy? No. Okay. In reality, you're having it 3-0 to City.
Yes.
And in reality, I think it's going to be like a 4-2 game again. Personally,
it could be.
They
have some defensive struggles.
Well, here's the thing, right? I think we do have to give credit to Forest because Forest have set themselves up defensively like well. Mm-hmm. They play with a back 5. They have Nico Williams.
Yeah, he's a good player.
They've also brought in the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: for City, right? They have 4 injuries: Jack Grealish, Laporte. Calvin Phillips has like a shoulder knock, so they're a bit worried about him. They're not going to risk him.
He probably wouldn't get much playing time, though.
Nathan Ake.
Yes, he's done too.
But then for Nottingham, I'm worried because they're missing out on Richards, who we just spoke about.
Yes.
Not the American one, the English one.
Yes.
And they're also missing out on Niakate they just got from the Bundesliga.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, him too.
So I think with Richards' shin injury, he's back in October. But then with Niakate, he's probably not going to play the next 1 or 2 games just out of like not risking anything.
Yeah.
He's been a big game signing.
Makes sense.
Then again, Dean Henderson in goal. So
yeah.
I mean, he might keep a clean sheet because he's that good.
2 penalty kick saves this season.
You know what? I am going to make a prediction that Alvarez starts today, personally.
Julian Alvarez.
It's going to be a Julian Alvarez, Phil Foden, and Haaland front line.
Wow.
And then you have probably a midfield 3 of Gundogan, Rodri, and De Bruyne, or maybe...
Or Silva.
Or Silva will fill in there over Gundogan. I think this is going to be a game for Alvarez. This is, I think, the best game to have City have him play in the Premier League and see how he performs.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I'm going to go 4-2.
4-2.
4-2, Forest lose. So sorry, Forest. I don't like rooting for City. I hate it.
Me too.
It burns my blood.
Yeah.
It really it really boils it. Next we have West Ham versus Tottenham. Mm-hmm. 2 other London clubs, Kenny.
Yeah.
What are we thinking here?
It's obviously 2 other London clubs. I'm dying for Tottenham to drop points, and I feel like they've kind of been, getting some late goals in a season. But I'm gonna go here with a.
Do you want to hear the injury list first, or do you want to make
Yeah.
your predictions? All right, so for Tottenham, I'm missing Brian Gill, Lucas Moura, and Ali Skip.
Yeah, they've been injured last game too. West Ham.
West Ham, it's Johnson, Dawson, and their new center back signing, Ugard.
Yeah.
But also, they're going to have Timo Kehrer, who they got from PSG.
Yes, another German defender.
Yep, they have Zuma and Ogbonna. Zuma likes to kick cats. And then you have Kufal and Emerson Royale. No, not Emerson Royale. Emerson from Chelsea.
Yeah, another Emerson Royale's on time.
Yeah, there's two different Emersons.
Yeah, I think, I could see from this game, like, it's, Tottenham's have those late goals. But
here's my question.
Yeah.
Do you think West Ham will do better with Fabianski in goal or with Areola in goal? Who do you think will
That
make the
is
difference?
tough. That is tough.
Because Fabianski's of course he's your classical shot stopper.
Yeah.
Will do his job. But then you have Alfonso Areola,
who's also very good
who's
too.
a bit taller.
Yeah, he's taller.
He has a great reach. His distribution is on point. Where do you see West Ham benefiting from having either of those keepers?
I think in a game like today, it might be.
You have to go with the experience, right?
Yeah.
Fabianski.
Either or, but I think my prediction, I'll go with a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Either a 1-1 or 2-2, but I'll say 1-1 draw because I feel like teams have been struggling. But, I'm just hoping that Tottenham doesn't bring Richarlison out. Then they have Richarlison, Kane, and Son running havoc in the 80th minute.
I don't think Son's starting. I think it's going to be Kulusevski, Kane, and Richarlison. I
Really?
think this is going to be the game to test out, see if Richarlison can start. They also still have Perisic, Højbjerg, Bentancur.
Love Perisic, great player.
Great player. Great player. But yeah, this might be a Richarlison game.
Yeah.
There's a certain word to describe him, but it's not radio appropriate. So
Yes.
we're going to leave it there. Richarlison's a real big character. And you said, what was your scoreline? 1-1?
1-1. I'll go with a 1-1 draw, which I'll be satisfied with if Tottenham drops points.
West Ham haven't been good enough. Declan Rice sort of not having the form of last season. Jared Bowen the same. West Ham sort of struggling to find their striker because it's either between Mikel Antonio or Scamacca and figuring out the way they're going to start with there.
I think Scamacca will end up starting, throughout the season.
I think so
over
too.
time.
But it's just how do you bench Mikel Antonio, who's
Yeah.
been a club servant for how many years now?
Yeah.
Since what, 2016?
Yeah. It's always been good for them.
Always. So that's why I think it's going to be a 3-0 thrashing for Tottenham.
I hope that doesn't happen.
I know you don't want it to happen,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have on the card the last game of the day at 3 p.m. Liverpool versus Newcastle.
Yeah. Looking forward to that one.
Here's the thing. I think it's going to be a good game.
Me too.
Liverpool's a good team. Newcastle's a good team. It's really hard to sort of make a decision on that.
They've both been, Liverpool's been inconsistent, but after a 9-0 victory, how do you just not come back out on top again?
Yeah, but then Newcastle has been
in form.
Yeah, they've been playing well all season.
Running, St. Max been running havoc for defenses. I could be this similar to a Newcastle City game.
Just to put this in perspective for you, they have not lost a single Premier League game yet. So they won against Nottingham Forest 2-0. Right? Yeah, so they were. We'll give them credit for City. They should have beat City.
They should have.
They should have beat City. But yeah, so 2-0 against Nottingham, 0-0 Brighton, 3-3 against City, which is impressive.
Yeah, very impressive.
That's what's making me think
impressive.
there might. I think this game is going to be all down to Liverpool's fullbacks.
I think, their defense.
I say the fullbacks more because that's where St. Maximin and
St. Maximin on Trent Alexander-Arnold today.
Yeah, that's going to be
That'll be fun.
big decider.
That'll be very fun.
They also tied 1-1 against Wolves, so it depends. Here's the thing. It depends if they can handle a pressing side with weaker fullbacks, but yet they are a world-class team.
Yeah.
I think just for fun, I'm going to say 2-1 to Newcastle.
Wow.
What about you, Kenny? What do you think?
And you know what? I think this will be a similar game to City. Where Newcastle, I think, could get a nice lead, and the question is, will Liverpool, if Liverpool's down like 2-1, can Liverpool come out with, like an 89th minute goal or something like that? So, I want to go with a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw.
2-2 draw, because I'm expecting some goals today. I'm expecting some goals. Even, I'm expecting some goals. And, it's kind of hard to, to put both sides if they've been kind of, Liverpool's been inconsistent. But, coming off 9 goals, they did something right. Obviously, it's Bournemouth.
Firmino was going rampant, though. Like, that's one of the best games we've seen him have in a while.
It was. And even the game before that, he played well, too, in the place of Darwin Núñez.
I mean, he didn't play that well against United, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, still the role that he's kind of slid into hasn't been bad though.
Yeah, but I think my thing is
he's
that
kind of exceeded expectations.
Yeah, of course, but I think Firmino, his issue is that when he first got there, it was just try to score goals, assist when you can. Mm-hmm. Now it's like everyone sees them as this like underrated ball playing, pressing striker that doesn't really need to score goals.
Really like a false 9 he plays. He's really like a center forward.
And then I just think that he just needs to get back to what he was doing, because when he played against United, it looked like he was trying to do too much. Mm-hmm. Like he was too much in his head. He was trying to flick like the balls. He was trying
classic
to
Brazilian.
Yeah, do like all these like over complicated passes. Mm-hmm. And that Bournemouth game, he kept it simple. That's the best way to explain it. He kept it very simple. And that's why I could see him having a good game. But I think after this, Darwin's suspension is done. Mm-hmm. So I think after this week is going to be very, very
hard for him to get minutes.
Yeah,
in the Prem,
100%. So just real quick to recap, we're going to go over the league real quick. And first place right now is Arsenal on 12. Mm-hmm. Man City with second, 10 points. Tottenham in third, 10 points. Brighton in fourth, 10 points.
Crazy.
Leeds in fifth with 8. Fulham in sixth with 8. Southampton in 7th with 7 points. Chelsea in 8th with 7 points. Brighton in 9th with 6 points. Newcastle in 10th with 6 points.
Almost ties.
Almost ties. Man United in 11th with 6 points. Liverpool in 12th with 5 points. Crystal Palace in 13th with 5 points. Nottingham Forest in 14th with 4 points. Everton in 15th with 3 points. Aston Villa in 16th with 3 points. West Ham in 17th with 3 points. Bournemouth, Wolves, and Leicester are in the bottom 3.
Bournemouth, Wolves, and Leicester.
But Bournemouth can
Leicester's been struggling.
But here's the thing, though. Bournemouth can get out of the relegation zone because they're only on 3 points. They're tied with 3 other teams. So they could hop up to 14th very easily.
They can.
If they get the right results. But sadly, they're versing Wolves, who also need results because they're also right below them. So it's not going to be an easy one for them. It's not going to be an easy one.
No, it definitely won't. But like you said, I think in last 20th it's Leicester, right?
Yes, Leicester. They have not won a single game.
Yeah,
they drew 1, lost 3. I think that's just due to the fact that
they played some tough teams.
I say this time and time again. People are always like, no, you're wrong. Brendan Rodgers is just not good enough for that club. It's plain and simple.
Yeah.
Because obviously when he came in, he picked up on a system that was built for him. He didn't have to do much. He had players, do your thing, and then that's it, right? And he's not at the level that the club needs to be. I mean, let's not forget. Oh, there's one more game we have to recap for tomorrow. Which is Leicester versus United. And I think Leicester loses this game just because...
I think so too.
Of, I think, A, injury issues, but B, their transfer business as well. Because they have Fofana, who's going to be sold. That's why he's on the injured list. Ryan Bertrand's out, knee injury. Andreas Pereira, Achilles tendon. He's not going to be back till February 2023.
Arsenal's still looking at Tielemans.
Tielemans hasn't still left yet. Madison's still injured. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Dewsbury Hall. He's a really great up-and-coming talent, but can you rely on a midfield three of Pryatt, Sumari, and Dewsbury Hall?
You can't. Not in the Premier League.
It's not going to work. And James Justin is good. Castagna I like,
Yeah.
but Johnny Evans, like, he's a good player. Like, don't get me wrong.
Is Harvey Barnes still there?
Harvey Barnes is still there.
Okay. I like
But Johnny Evans is 34 years old.
Yeah, he's old.
Like, don't get me wrong. He's made Harry Maguire, Wesley Fofana, Soo Chu, all these guys look good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because kudos to him. He's actually a decent defender.
Yeah.
But when you have someone like an Amartey in the back line who's used to playing the midfield, who's really not that good of a player, you're not really helping yourself.
Yeah.
And then Vardy, he's aging out. You still have
Unfortunately.
Patsandaka. You still have Iheanacho.
Yeah, those two strikers, could come and score.
Iosi
goals.
Perez, he's never lived up to any of his expectations. At Newcastle, he was half decent, not the best.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I still think the best player on Leicester right now would be, James Maddison. He's quality on the ball.
Yeah, I think his issue is that he's been on like a little slump. He hasn't been playing as well. He's just been unfortunate with injuries and stuff. So we're just gonna have to see where it goes from there. But that's gonna be tomorrow's game at 3 p.m. And I think it's a United win.
What's your score for this?
I'm thinking 2-1, 1-0 maybe.
I kind of think the same. I think Leicester can shake out a goal, and I think it's the way United's been playing is that I could see him getting like a 2-1 victory. Maybe letting up a goal. What would be your lineup for tomorrow? Who do you want in?
So my lineup, I want to.
What's that left back name they just got? What starts with
Malacia.
the M?
He's so good. I'm not even saying that as like a United.
Is he a
fan.
lefty?
Yeah, he's preferably left-footed.
Okay.
But Malacia, like I've said, he's been absolutely class. Like he's making it harder for Luke Shaw to get back into the team than Harry Maguire. Like that's the think about I think he's really solidified the left back spot to be his. Because tomorrow I see his start. I think Casemiro starts tomorrow.
I was just gonna say I think a midfield three of Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno. I feel like you can't go wrong with that.
No, there's no.
Eriksen's class.
Eriksen,
He's class.
Look, you're gonna have Casemiro at the base of the midfield defending. You're gonna have Eriksen playing box to box, just slotting balls
like an
nonstop. And then you're gonna have Fernandes just being a menace. Like he's gonna be all over the pitch, free roaming, causing problems. You also have Marcus Rashford in front of him. You have Jadon Sancho. You have Elanga, who started off the season really well.
I like Elanga a lot.
I mean, here's the thing: we still have Martial out, sort of. Like he's suffered an injury, knocks. We don't risk anything. Brandon Williams still out, Pellistri still out, and Lindelof still out. Yeah. So honestly, I'm happy with this team so long as Harry Maguire does not start. Plain and simple.
And what? One thing is that I'm still rooting for because I've always been a supporter of Marcus Rashford.
Dude,
I'm rooting for him just to do like how I root for Havertz
I
to
say
do
this,
well. I root for him
say
to
this
do well.
time and time again, and people hate me for it. Cristiano Ronaldo completely ruined Man United last season. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. People will ridicule me. Oh, he got 18 goals. Where you get that goals from? You gotta understand, when Ronaldo's introduced into a team, he changes it completely. Plain and simple, ruins the club, ruins everything. But guys, that is all the time we have for today. It is 12 o'clock. You gotta be ready for Ant and Maz on the midday. I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for tuning in. Kenny, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure having you. Let's hope we don't have to wait another 6 to 8 months to have you back on again. Guys, you have been listening. Top of the hour on WMSC Upper Montclair. This is Matchweek. Make sure you tell somebody